Hi, how are you? Welcome to our lesson today on Somanasi. Today we are going to teach class 8 science. Our topic today is reproduction in human being. Reproduction in human being. Science class 8. Reproduction in human beings. Human beings. Reproduction in human beings. Now, before I go to reproduction in human beings, in science, we normally deal with two things. We normally deal with living things and non-living things. Now, in non-living things, I'll not go into non-living things. That's a subject for another day. I'll start with living things. Living things we have categorized into two. We have the plants and the animals. Now, when I'm talking about the animals, we have what you call characteristics of animals that they make them unique from other living things which are plants. And these characteristics, as we all know them from our previous classes, that's class 4, we say that all animals feed, they eat something. And then number 2, we also say that all animals die, all animals grow, all animals react to changes in the environment, Number 5, and then we say all animals remove waste. All animals remove waste. They feed, they eat something, they die. Eventually all animals will have to die. They grow from childhood, then to adulthood, and then to old age, and then eventually die. They react to changes in the environment. For instance, if it's raining, definitely you will find yourself sheltering and going into the house to shelter yourself or using an umbrella. That means that you are reacting to changes in the environment, and then they remove waste. After eating, that's feeding, definitely you remove waste. But there's one key thing that I want us to focus on, and this one is characteristics number 6. We all say that animals reproduce. Animals reproduce. Another word that we use, we normally say they give rise to young ones. Give rise to young ones. They give rise to young ones. So there are different ways animals reproduce, or there are different ways in which animals reproduce. All animals do not reproduce in the same way. For instance, if you look at the birds will find that they lay eggs. After laying eggs, the eggs hatch into chicks. After hatching into chicks, then you find that there are new offsprings coming about. But when I move to human beings, which is our key topic today, we'll say that these ones, the way they reproduce, you'll find that they give birth. They do not lay eggs. And this is one of the characteristics of mammals, apart from the sperm and eaters and the dark-billed platypus. So let's look at how these animals reproduce. And these animals that we are talking about, they are the human beings. So for the animals to produce, we have to have what we call reproduction organs. You cannot reproduce if you do not have reproduction organs. And in reproduction organs, we have two sets of organs. One, we have what we call female reproductive organs. Female reproductive organ. And 2, we have what we call male reproductive organ. organ. So we have the two. In the reproduction organs, we have what we call the female reproductive organ and the male reproductive organ. These ones are the ones that will enable the human beings to reproduce or to give rise to young ones. Let's revisit the female reproductive organ. The female reproductive organ. Now when I'm talking about the female reproductive organ, this one is now, that's my female reproductive organ. Now, when I'm talking about this female reproductive organ, if I label this one we'll call it an ovary. This one we'll call it an ovary. Ovary. This one is called an ovary. Now, we have two types, two ovaries. We have the right one and the left one. Ovary. Ovary, ovary. From ovary, we move to what is called the oviduct. Oviduct. This one is called oviduct. 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 Another name given to the oviduct, we normally call it the fallopian tube. Fallopian tube. This one we also call it the fallopian tube. Why do we call it oviduct? We call it oviduct because in the ovary, there's the production of the female sex cells. The production of the female sex cells. And these female sex cells, we call them ovum in singular and ova in plural. So the duct provides the passage of the ovum. Provides the passage of the ovum. And that's why we call it the oviduct. From the oviduct, we move into what we call the womb. The womb. The womb. Another name given to the womb is called the uterus. Uterus. We move to the womb and the uterus. In the uterus is basically where the child develops or where the baby develops. And then from the womb we go to what we call the birth canal. Birth canal. Birth canal is also called the vagina. It's also called the vagina. Birth canal, also known as the vagina. So we have the ovary. Ovary, where the production of female sexes is done. From the ovary, we move to the fallopian tube, the passage where the eggs pass, and then from there, if the eggs are fertilized, they move into the womb, where the baby is formed, and then the birth canal, which means that where the release of the baby normally takes place. I'll explain that one as we move on. Can I now talk about the male sex cell, male reproductive organ? The male reproductive organ. Male reproductive organ. The male reproductive organ. Now, the male reproductive organ Now that's a rough sketch of the male reproductive organ. Now can we label the male reproductive organ? Now the male reproductive organ, we have what we call the testes. The testes. We have what we call the testes. Now, what's the work of the testes? The testes are used to produce the male sex cells. They are used to produce the male sex cells. And the male sex cells are known as the sperms. They are known as the sperms. Now from the testes, these sperms will go through what we call, in the female we are talking about oviduct, because that was the passage of ovi. But now we are talking about the sperms. Where are they passing? They are passing through a duct. So this one we call it sperm duct. Sperm duct. We'll call it sperm duct. Now from the sperm duct, the sperms will go through this passage. And this passage we call it urethra. Urethra. They go through urethra. And then from the urethra we have what we call the penis. This is the penis. Now penis is the manhood, the muscular organ that's called manhood. And this one is used to deposit the sperms in the female reproductive organ known as vagina. So on this penis we have what we call the glands that are used to regulate the temperatures of the sperms. You have the glands that are used to regulate the temperatures of the sperms. Now, having talked about that, let's look at how the baby is formed or the reproduction in human being. The reproduction in human being. Because we say that in human being, for the reproduction to take place, then you should have the organs. I've already illustrated. This one we did it in class 6. So I've already revisited that on what we did in class 6. We've learned about the organs that are involved in reproduction, and I want to believe that by now you have a picture of what happens. Now, reproduction in human being, especially in human being, in mankind, starts at the puberty age. Puberty age. Always starts at puberty. Puberty is the age between childhood and adulthood. It's also known as the adolescent stage. Now you find that at this stage is when you find that when children are maturing, you'll start finding that their organs start to develop, and then they start producing the male and the reproductive sex cells. Now, especially when you are in class 6, we say that at this time is when you realize that in male, they start producing the male sex cells, and this one is done through wet dreams. In girls, it's the time you'll start seeing girls menstruate, meaning that their ovaries have started producing the eggs. Now, we say that for the production to take place, then you should have the two sex cells. The male should produce what you call the sperm, and the female should produce what you call the ova. Now, when I'm talking about the sperm, the sperms look like this. Looks like that. The sperm looks like that. And by this one, you call it the nucleus. This is the head, and then this is the tail. The tail. So in a single ejaculation, a male produces a million sperms, produces so many sperms. But during fertilization, only one sperm fertilizes the egg. Now when I'm talking about the ovum, that's the sperm. When I'm talking about the ovum, it's like an egg, like this one. Then you have what you call the nucleus. So this one is the nucleus, And this is the yolk of the egg. Yolk of the egg. So what normally happens? What normally happens? A female always produces one ovum after 28 days. After 28 days. And the process in which an egg is produced, we normally term is as ovulation. Ovulation. Let me go back to the female sex cells so that I can explain this and you understand it in depth. Look at my organ. This is my organ, the female sex cell, the female reproductive organ, I mean. This is my female reproductive organ. Now, this is an ovary. This is an ovary. And this ovary always produces what we call the female sex cell. It always produces the female sex cell, which is called an ovum. I say that this ovum is produced after a period of 28 days. A period of 28 days. Now, the process in which the egg produces an ovum, we call it ovulation. Ovulation. Ovulation is the process by which the ovary produces an egg. So this one will produce after 28 days. Now, how are the eggs produced, or how are the female sex produced? They are produced in alternating manner, meaning that if the left egg produced after 48 days, the next month, definitely it will be this one. It cannot be produced concurrently. So this one will be produced and then the other one will produce the other month. So they keep on alternating. They keep on alternating. So it's good to say that if this one produces a female sex, it produces a sex cell which is an ovum, it will take another 56 days for it to produce. Now, after production, these eggs will move down the fallopian tube. It will move down the fallopian tube. Or this fallopian tube, or the oviduct. If at all there was sperms that had entered the vagina, if at all there was a sperms that were entered the vagina, they meet the egg in the fallopian tube. After meeting the egg in the fallopian tube, we say that 1 million of sperms will meet one ovum. And this million sperms will fight for the space. Will fight for the space. So you'll find that this is one egg, but there are so many sperms coming on it. There are so many sperms coming on it. There are so many sperms coming for it, fighting for the spaces. But it's only one sperm that will break the egg. It's always one sperm that will break the egg. And if they break, it will enter like this. It will enter like this. This is a sperm that has broken the egg. After they broke the egg, then they form one thing. They come like this and then form one thing. And when they do that, they